What if I told you that the reason you're unhappy isn't because of your job, your relationships, or even your past mistakes? It's because of a lie so deeply embedded in your mind that you don't even question it. A lie that shapes your emotions, controls your decisions, and keeps you feeling lost, no matter how much success, money, or pleasure you chase. And here's the terrifying part. You didn't choose to believe this lie. It was programmed into you. By society, by culture, by everything around you. But Dostoevsky saw this deception over a century ago. He saw how it was infecting people's minds, stripping them of meaning and leaving them empty. If you don't uncover this lie, it will keep you trapped in a cycle of misery. But if you do, everything changes. Because once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. Imagine losing everything. Your freedom, your dignity, even the certainty of whether you'll be alive tomorrow. That's exactly what happened to Fyodor Dostoevsky. He wasn't just a writer. He was a man who faced death, stared into the abyss, and returned with revelations so powerful that it shook the foundation of human psychology. Before he became one of the greatest novelists of all time, Dostoevsky was sentenced to death by firing squad. At the last moment, his sentence was changed to years of hard labor in a Siberian prison. He was stripped of his identity, beaten down by the brutal cold, surrounded by murderers and thieves. And yet, in that unimaginable suffering, he discovered something that explains why modern life feels so empty. This isn't just about history or philosophy. This is about you. Why do you always feel like something is missing? Why does happiness never last? Why? No matter how much you achieve, buy, or experience, do you still feel restless, like you're waiting for something that never comes? Dostoevsky understood the answer. He saw the one lie that keeps people trapped in an endless cycle of misery. And by the end of this video, you'll not only uncover what that lie is, but you'll also learn how to break free from it forever. From the moment you were born, you were taught a single, unquestioned belief. Happiness is the purpose of life. Society drills it into you. Every advertisement, every self-help book, every social media post whispers the same message. If you're not happy, something is wrong. But Dostoevsky saw through this illusion. He knew that the pursuit of happiness doesn't make people stronger. It makes them weaker. Think about it. Have you ever finally gotten something you desperately wanted? Maybe a promotion, a new relationship, or a dream vacation, only to feel an unsettling emptiness afterward? You expected fulfillment. Instead, you felt nothing. Why? Because happiness, as we imagine it, is an illusion. It's fleeting, temporary, and fragile. And when you build your entire existence around chasing it, you set yourself up for disappointment. The happiness paradox. Modern psychology confirms what Dostoevsky instinctively understood. The more you chase happiness, the less of it you actually experience. A study published in Perspectives on Psychological Science found that people who prioritize happiness as their main goal often feel more anxious and unfulfilled than those who don't. Why? Because the very act of obsessing over happiness makes every moment feel like it's falling short. This is a happiness paradox. The harder you chase it, the further it runs from you. But Dostoevsky's insight goes even deeper. He didn't just say that the pursuit of happiness is ineffective. He believed it was actively dangerous. The dark side of happiness culture. Dostoevsky saw a world obsessed with comfort, pleasure, and convenience. And he feared that this obsession was creating a generation of weak, aimless people. In Notes from Underground, his unnamed protagonist rebels against the idea that human beings exist simply to be content. He mocks the idea of a world where suffering is eliminated, saying, "What sort of free will is left when everything is organized? What enjoyment can there be when everything is calculated and arranged?" In other words, a life built solely around happiness and comfort doesn't lead to fulfillment. It leads to boredom, stagnation, and decay. Look around today. We live in an age of instant gratification. You can get entertainment, food, validation, all with the tap of a screen. And yet, depression and anxiety are at record highs. People are lonelier, more disconnected, more restless than ever before. Why? Because Dostoevsky was right. When you make happiness your sole objective, You strip life of its depth, struggle, and meaning. But if happiness isn't the goal of life, then what is? Dostoevsky had an answer, and it wasn't what most people wanted to hear. Dostoevsky didn't just reject the idea that happiness is life's ultimate goal. He took it a step further. He argued that true fulfillment comes not from avoiding suffering, but from embracing it. In Notes from Underground, he writes, "Man is sometimes extraordinarily, passionately in love with suffering. Why would anyone love suffering? Because deep down, we don't just crave comfort. We crave meaning. And meaning is often born through struggle." The Siberian Prison Experiment. Dostoevsky didn't come to this conclusion through abstract philosophy. He lived it in a Siberian prison camp. He was surrounded by men who had lost everything. They were stripped of their names, their freedom, their dignity. Many gave up completely, collapsing under the weight of hopelessness. But others, a rare few, somehow found the strength to endure. They created meaning inside the suffering itself. Dostoevsky watched as some prisoners, despite their miserable conditions, developed unbreakable resilience. They refused to see themselves as victims. They adapted. They found purpose. They even found moments of joy. And he realized something terrifying. Suffering is inevitable, but how you respond to it is a choice. Modern psychology confirms it. A century later, Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, came to the exact same conclusion. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl writes, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." Frankl noticed something chilling. Prisoners who lived only for pleasure, comfort, or happiness were the first to lose hope. But those who found meaning in their suffering, even in the depths of the death camp, were the ones who survived. This isn't just history. Psychological studies confirm it. Research in the Journal of Positive Psychology found that people who prioritize meaning over happiness have stronger mental resilience and greater life satisfaction. Studies on post-traumatic growth show that people who endure hardship, if they find meaning in it, often come out. So here's the brutal truth. Trying to eliminate suffering from your life is impossible. But finding meaning within suffering, that's the real key to fulfillment. But this raises a question. If meaning is more important than happiness, where do we find it? Dostoevsky had an answer, and it's one that most people are afraid to hear. Dostoevsky's life was a testament to one radical truth. True fulfillment doesn't come from comfort. It comes from sacrifice, struggle, and responsibility. This is the message society doesn't want you to hear. From childhood, you've been told to chase happiness, to avoid suffering, to seek an easy life. But look at the people who changed the world. Were they happy? Were Martin Luther King Jr., Marie Curie, or Nikola Tesla driven by a desire for comfort? No, they were consumed by something greater than themselves, a higher purpose so powerful that they were willing to suffer for it. The world was built by those who chose meaning over comfort. History is filled with people who didn't seek happiness. They sought truth, justice, and purpose. Leonardo da Vinci spent years dissecting corpses, studying anatomy, and obsessing over the mechanics of flight. Not because it made him happy, but because he was driven by an insatiable curiosity. Marie Curie didn't chase pleasure. She risked her life handling radioactive materials because she was dedicated to uncovering the secrets of science. Frederick Douglass wasn't seeking personal joy when he fought against slavery. He endured unimaginable hardships because he believed in something greater than himself. These people weren't seeking happiness. They were seeking meaning. And here's the irony. Happiness was a byproduct. Why modern life feels so empty? But today, we are told the opposite. We're taught to avoid pain, to seek pleasure, to make life as easy as possible. And in doing so, we deprive ourselves of the one thing that gives life true depth. We scroll endlessly on social media, chasing dopamine hits instead of purpose. We avoid responsibility, thinking it will make us free, yet end up feeling more lost than ever. We are sold convenience at the cost of meaning, and then we wonder why we feel empty. Dostoevsky saw this happening in his time and issued a warning. A man who lies to himself and listens to his own lie comes to a point that he cannot distinguish the truth within him. In other words, if you believe the lie that happiness is the goal of life, you will never find real fulfillment. So what's the alternative? Dostoevsky's answer was simple but demanding. Find something worth suffering for. The real reason you're miserable isn't because you're unhappy. It's because you've been chasing the wrong thing. Think about it. Every time you've achieved something you thought would make you happy, how long did that feeling last? A day? A week? Maybe a month? Happiness fades. Comfort fades. But purpose doesn't. Dostoevsky's warning is clear. Stop running from hardship. Stop believing that happiness is the goal. The pursuit of happiness without meaning is a trap. One that leaves you feeling empty, anxious, and restless. Instead, ask yourself, what is so important to you that you would suffer for it? That's the real question. Because the truth is, you don't need more happiness. You need a reason to suffer. Dostoevsky knew this firsthand. He survived a mock execution. He endured years in a Siberian prison. He suffered from epilepsy, debt, and political persecution. And yet, he never gave up writing. Why? Because he had a mission. To uncover the depths of human nature. To expose the lies that keep people trapped in misery. To tell the truth no matter the cost. That's what kept him alive. That's what made his suffering worth it. And that's the truth that no one tells you. Suffering is inevitable. But if you suffer for the right thing, it transforms you. The only question is, what are you willing to suffer for? The next time you feel lost or unfulfilled, don't ask, how can I be happier? Instead, ask, what struggle is worth enduring? Because happiness fades. Pleasure is temporary, but meaning lasts. Dostoevsky understood this. Viktor Frankl understood this. And now you do too. So now, it's time to turn this insight into action. What's one thing in your life right now that gives you meaning? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you want to dive deeper into these ideas, check out my video on Nietzsche's warning about modern life. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Click here to watch it now.